Hi, Andrew here, and it's Blackface Hitler Dumb and Dumber edition. Where this is ultimately going to go, I don't know. I normally have a few thoughts organized in my head before I start recording. Today, all I'm doing is picturing that moron of a prime minister of ours and his Jim Carrie Dumb and Dumber haircut. I saw a picture of him on the web a few days ago, and he had this bowl cut going, and I thought, is that really Blackface Hitler? I mean, what the hell happened? Did he actually choose to look like that? I mean, the man has hair. I don't choose to look like this. I mean, I choose to look like this, but I don't choose to look like that. That dumb son of a bitch voluntarily made himself look like that. Wow. I've been noting that our blackface dictator is not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. I believe the phrase I used, or the sentence I used, was an endless source of endless stupidity, that when his mouth opens up, stupidity pours forth like water over Niagara Falls. And there's been so much. I remember hearing a few seconds before I could quickly change the radio station, because I can't even stand to hear the man, his voice. And there he was, apologizing for racism toward blacks in, was it the military in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick? I'm not sure. But the man whose default costume was Blackface Minstrel show, who, when called upon it, used it as a moment to tell us how disappointed he is in all of us, is apologizing for Canadian racism toward blacks. Blackface, look in the fucking mirror, you racist sack of shit. But I don't know if it was the stupid haircut, or if it's the small accumulation, or if it's the fact that the Europeans, the European Parliament, one of the least democratic parliaments, so-called governing bodies, well, very, very undemocratic body, when they were refusing to sit and listen to him babble, when they were calling him out as a tyrant, as an anti-democratic tyrant, when he had to go to 10 Downing Street in the back door because of the protests, when there were street protests in New York outside the Canadian consulate decrying his dictatorial ways, these things slowly bled into the public consciousness. And last week, or the week before, he was out in the Okanagan Valley. He's out in BC, his real home turf, the woke dipshit territory. But he went to an Indian reservation. And they remember what he did and how he treated Judy Wilson-Raybould. You know, a strong Métis woman, brown woman, native woman, saying no. And what did she get? She got the back of his hand. They remember. And he got shouted down and ridiculed. And there was another event sometime 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. The RCMP had to cancel it because there was just too much unrest. People didn't want him. Now, the Dumb and Dumber haircut, he is the subject of ridicule. One of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals is laughter or ridicule is your most powerful weapon. We hate to be laughed at. It was bad enough when he was embarrassed, when he was shown to be the indecisive wuss that he is by the truckers, and that's why he brought in martial law, and he brought the hammer of state down upon them because they dared to disrespect his authority. Well, that was one thing. But it's beyond that now. Now, he's the subject of ridicule. I don't know how much longer any politician who is the subject of ridicule can last. Are you old enough to remember Joe Who? Joe Clark. I remember, I can't remember the Toronto Sun cartoonist's name, but I'm pretty sure it was the Toronto Sun political cartoonist, drew him with the kitty mittens. You know, the ones with the strings attached to the mittens, and you put them through the sleeves, and that way the kids can't lose their mittens. There was a political cartoon of him with those. He became the subject of ridicule. His parliament lasted a grand total of 9 months, and he was shuffled off the scene. You can survive a populace that is angry with you, but can you survive a population that laughs at you? Well, to that end, I suggest you ask Chairman Pooh Bear of China. Did you know that Xi Jinping had images of Winnie the Pooh banned in China because he's compared to a cartoon character? Now, this is a lovable, dopey, chubby little tummy all stuffed with fluff, happy bear. But it was ridicule. He's a tyrant. He can't bear ridicule. So again, I ask, how long can Trudeau last as the object of ridicule? Is this the beginning of the end? I don't know. I do know that he exhibits tremendous, not symptoms. He appears to be a narcissist, and we're all just paper puppets in his personal passion play. We're not real to him. So the feedback doesn't tend to matter to him very much. That he is loathed by most of the country does not matter to him because we're not real. However, if the ridicule bleeds through, that may make a dent. Now, that probably puts granddaughter Nancy Freeland as the next in line. So, I mean, it's not like anything's going to get any better. But at least we'd be rid of Blackface and our national embarrassment. But there are other things. I've heard rumors. There are rumors that he's pushing for an early election. The precedent would be Jean Chrétien and his third majority. The Conservatives had split into the Western Reform Party that became the Reform Party and the PCs, which had a rump of seats on the East Coast. They eventually reunited, but they were in disarray. They weren't organized well enough to fight an election, so Chrétien called the election a year early so that he could run against a divided or an unsettled opposition and get his third majority. And there's noises that Blackface Hitler wants to do that he wants to call another snap election. That's maybe the precedent that his dim little 3 brain cell mind is paying attention to. The one, if I were he, or if I were his advisors, the one that I would be paying attention to would be David Peterson in Ontario, who called his election early. He called his election at least a year early, and he got tossed into the ash bin of history, and Bob Rae ended up the premier. And one of the running gags at the time, 5 years later, when Mike Harris Tory swept to power on the Common Sense Revolution, was that David Peterson was still sitting in his living room saying, "What happened?" If what I'm sensing is right, that the ridicule is now giving people permission to express their views of our god-awful Prime Minister out loud, then an early election will not be to his advantage, even if the Conservative Party has only just picked its leader. There are 2 precedents. My gut feeling is that the last election, O'Toole almost got himself a minority government. He didn't get a minority government because the Purple Party soaked up enough votes here and there to cost him a few seats. If the Purple Party and the CPC reunite, or they don't contest ridings against one another, then I can see Blackface losing to a minority conservative government at the minimum, even if Pierre Poilievre is only just won the leadership. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, keep an eye out. Oh, almost forgot, because I gained permission to ridicule the Prime Minister. He's gotten to the point where he has the police threatening to kick out reporters who ask him questions. What is the one thing, now all you people who say he's not a tyrant, what is the one thing that all tyrants have in common? Control of the press. He bought the press with 2.2 billion, 2.8, whatever, the CBC money plus $600 million, and he's making that money permanent so he never gets bad press. Even with that, the small few independent outlets are shouting questions at him and he doesn't want to hear them, and he's threatening them with police action. Canada, nice, polite Canada. We have a Prime Minister who's threatening reporters. I hope you're proud to have elected him, Liberals. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know this one got away from me a little bit. It's a little longer than I expected. Thanks for watching. That was my time. Now it's your time. And in the meantime, have a chuckle at Dumb and Dumber Blackface Hitler. And you'll see me soon.